You are listening to Women's Running Stories, where exceptional women runners share inspirational stories about their running experiences.
So I've run 345, I think. I was going to hit my 350th park run the same day as Roosevelt Island hit their 400th. But with the shutdown, that's not going to happen. But yes, so I think it's 345 is my total park run number that I've run. And then I've run in every country but Australia. My name is Elizabeth Sheridan, and I live in Northern Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C., which is where my husband and I raised our family. The kids are now grown and flown. And from a running point of view, I've been a runner most of my life, on and off. I did actually train as a doctor, but I never worked as a doctor once we got to America because I didn't have my American exams. So I was a stay-at-home mum for many years, and then I worked in a small business making soup and stews, which has been fun. And now I'm pretty much retired. So in the absence of grandchildren, I'm kind of free to do what I want. So I travel.
Yes, this episode features Elizabeth Sheridan, who is here to share her story of how ParkRun and travel have merged in her life, setting her off on terrific quests fueled by community and the delight of discovering new places. But before you hear more from Elizabeth, I do want to welcome you to Women's Running Stories. I am Cherie Louise Turner. I am the host and producer of this podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I am really excited about this story because I love ParkRun. Big shout out to my home ParkRun, Jamaica Pond, and my other local ParkRun, Dennehy Park. I have been enjoying ParkRun for almost a decade now, and so I am really excited to share Elizabeth's story because it highlights so many of the joys of ParkRun. And if you are not familiar with ParkRun, hang tight because I'm going to explain that in just 1 minute here. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's get on to Elizabeth's story. So yes, Elizabeth Sheridan has developed a great love of ParkRun, and it has inspired her to travel all over the U.S. and to many other parts of the world. Currently, ParkRun happens in 22 countries, and Elizabeth, as she mentioned, has done ParkRun in every one of those countries except Australia. So, backing up a little bit, if you aren't familiar with ParkRun, it is a free, weekly, timed 5K. There is no registration. There are no numbers to pin on. It's not even a race. Yes, some people run very fast, and some people run less fast. Some people jog, some people walk. There are dogs, there are kids, there are people with strollers. It is a truly come-as-you-are event. And complete the 5K however you like. You just sign up for a barcode online and bring that with you to ParkRun. There's always a first-timers briefing about 10 minutes before the start, where they tell people new to ParkRun how things work. The basic instructions are the same at all ParkRuns. And at the first-timers briefing, they'll also tell you about the course and answer any other questions you might have. In addition, each ParkRun has a dedicated web page where they provide details about that particular ParkRun. And each ParkRun has a Facebook page where you can also ask questions and get up-to-date information, like if a ParkRun is going to be canceled. So, yeah, you show up with your barcode, get the instructions, and go. ParkRun happens every single Saturday morning, and like I said, in many, many places throughout the world. Also, in addition to taking place every Saturday, ParkRun also happens on New Year's Day, and each country gets to choose one other extra day or special day to have a ParkRun. In the US, we have ParkRun on Thanksgiving. In several European countries, the extra day or the special day is Christmas. In Canada, it's on Canada Day, July 1st, and so on. Also, each parkrun happens on the same course each week, and the courses vary quite a bit. Some of them are on pavement, some are on trails or on grass, some are a mixture. There are hilly courses and there are flat courses, and so on. The one common feature is that they are all 5 kilometers long, and each parkrun is organized by volunteers every single weekend. And while there are occasions where a parkrun might get canceled, that is usually due to weather. It is astonishing how rarely this happens. I've run parkruns in lots of different weather. Rain, when there's snow on the ground, super windy and cold, and of course, on many, many nice days too. And after just about every parkrun, people get together at a local cafe or a restaurant to chat, refuel, hang out. Parkrun is as much about completing 5 kilometers as it is about creating community. A little background here is that ParkRun started in London just over 20 years ago, and the UK is home to a huge number of parkruns. As ParkRun has spread and grown all over the world, loads of challenges have cropped up, which many people keep track of on the 5K app. And you're going to hear Elizabeth mention this app. The most popular metrics that people keep track of are the number of times they've run ParkRun and the number of times they've volunteered. This is incentivized by ParkRun with jerseys and other merch that you can earn at certain milestones. In particular, running 25 times at ParkRun, 50 times, 100 times, 250, 500, and there is even a 1,000 ParkRun milestone. Nobody has earned it yet. You also can earn the same milestone jerseys for numbers of time that you volunteered. Beyond those core milestones, there are loads of ParkRun quests. For instance, there's the Alphabeteer Challenge, which involves running a parkrun beginning with each letter of the alphabet except X. There's also like the Compass Challenge, which involves running parkruns where the name contains a compass point, east, west, north, south, and so on. There are loads of these challenges. And in this episode, you're going to hear Elizabeth talk about the challenges she set out for herself. A primary one being becoming US Countrywoman, which means running every parkrun in the US. The tricky bit about this challenge is that it never really ends. Or so we hope, because ParkRun continues to grow in the US, so new parkruns are always being created. Also to mention is that there are some parkruns that have come and gone, like my very first home parkrun in San Francisco at Crissy Field. Due to permitting issues, it didn't restart after COVID. And Elizabeth has a good story about her Crissy Field experience, which you will hear about. Now, getting back to Elizabeth's story, it does center around the phenomena of ParkRun and how she grew to become so involved with this community, especially in recent years after having raised her 5 children. Elizabeth has become a core ParkRun community member locally, which she mentioned to me has expanded beyond Saturdays to involve trivia nights as well. And Elizabeth has formed connections nationally and internationally, as she's going to get into. There are a few details I want to get to before Elizabeth tells her story. Just one for total clarity. When Elizabeth talks about her travel plans to run new US parkruns, she mentions a home away schedule, just meaning that she planned to stay home one weekend, travel the next, so she was running a new parkrun every other week at that point. She also mentions many parkrun names, and I just want to clarify a few items around that. Elizabeth's home parkrun is Roosevelt Island, which is in the Washington, D.C. area. She also mentions a couple other D.C. area parkruns, Anacostia and Fletcher's, that's Fletcher's Cove. And she mentions Biddeford with 1 D and Biddeford with 2 Ds. There are, indeed, 2 Biddeford ParkRuns, 1D Biddeford ParkRun in the UK, and the Eastern Trail ParkRun Biddeford, 2Ds, in Biddeford, Maine. She's run them both. She also mentions Delaware and Raritan Canal ParkRun, which is in Southbound Brook, New Jersey. I was a little thrown by the Delaware in the name, so I just wanted to make that clear. All right, now let's get to it. Let's hear Elizabeth Sheridan's running story, beginning with how she very first got into running as a teenager. Now here to tell her story is Elizabeth Sheridan.
So running, I started as a teenager when I was in high school. I grew up in England, and I was on the school first 11 for field hockey, so varsity field hockey. And we had this exercise where we used to run across the width of the pitch. And oh my goodness, that left me winded. So when I came home from practice one day and told my mom this, and my mom, who had put on a lot of postnatal baby weight and was always trying to lose weight, suggested that I went running in the local park. We had a park at the back of our garden, and she would come with me and walk. And we would do it before school, because our school didn't start till 9 a.m., much later than they start here in the States. So that's what we started to do. I would run laps of the park, and she would do some walking. And that was the start of it. When I got to university, I wasn't good enough to be anywhere near any of the field hockey teams. So I just started to run. I lived near a large common area called the Bristol Downs that were 3 miles in circumference. And I would just go out and run that. It was kind of a nice distance. And this is back in late 70s, early 80s, when people weren't really running then. But there was a half marathon. So I entered a half marathon. Then I went to med school after university. I ran in Ireland. And I remember I did 10Ks at that time. That was kind of the distance that people ran. And then I just ran on and off after that. And gradually it became more mainstream and more races popped up. And I did a few, but they're pretty expensive to enter. So I really just ran to stay fit. So I liked feeling fit. I liked being fit. And also I have incredibly sweet tooth. So I like to eat chocolate, basically. But I did enjoy being fit, and I did enjoy the longer distances and being able to build up to them. Yeah, and in good weather, when you're out on a common and you're just running, it's really just nice. So my dad is a Kiwi from New Zealand, and he moved to England in the 50s, met and married my mom. So I was born and brought up in Britain. His brother, my uncle, stayed in New Zealand, and so I have Kiwi cousins. And they had got into ParkRun. My cousin and her husband had got into ParkRun. And one summer of 2017, Wendy and Nigel, my cousin and her husband, and my family, the kids were in high school, middle, and one left in elementary school at that stage. We happened to coincide in London. My cousin and her husband work as naturalists on cruise ships. They take people to go and see penguins in Antarctica and stuff like that. And so their summer, or rather the British summer, is their off season. So they were traveling. We met up in London, and they were like, you guys like to run. Our girls were in cross country and track and field. You'd like ParkRun. So they sat down and signed up, all 7 of us, my husband, myself, and our 5 kids. And we all got barcodes. And we were all set to go and run Gunnersbury ParkRun in West London, the closest one to my dad's house. And then my dad organised a breakfast outing on Saturdays. So we didn't do the ParkRun. The following week, we were down in Devon, which is southwest England. And I thought, I wonder if there's a ParkRun anywhere near. I Googled it, and oh my goodness, there was one 15 minutes down the road. Whoa, it's a sign. Of course, it's not really a sign at all because in England, they're all over the place. But I said, it's a sign. So I went off, myself, our daughter and one of our sons ran it, and my husband came to cheer us on. Turned out to be a local suburban park in Bideford, 1D, because we have a Bideford with 2Ds in the USA. It was 2.5 laps of this park, and it was being used also that particular Saturday, mid-June. It was being used by a New Year's Couch to 5K group, a local group. So there was a big group of ladies all in matching purple shirts with lots of family to support them and all the other runners. So a ton of support on the course. And at the end, a whole spread of Devon cream tea cakes and biscuits, and oh my goodness. And I'm like, oh, running and cake, yes, count me in. So the following week we were back in London, so I went and did Gunnersbury, and then came home to the States, and I thought, I wonder if there's one near us. And there was. Roosevelt Island is about a 30-minute drive for us, which of course is nothing in the States. And so I did check out Roosevelt. I went to Fletcher's. I was sporadic through the fall of 2017. I did go back to New Zealand in October 2017, and I did a park run there. So I got an extra country. And it wasn't really until 2018, the spring, that I became a little more obsessed, shall we say. It was our last son's final year in high school. He was high school senior. He was going off. I'd been a stay-at-home mum for, I don't know how long, 18 years or something. And so sort of now what? If there was this big sort of blank open space, I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And I got a bit kind of depressed about that. And eventually I pulled myself together and thought, okay, what can I do? Let's get fit. Why don't I try that ParkRun thing again? And of course, it's too difficult to run just one 5K a week. So that made me run during the week. And that was when I just got a little more. I didn't go every Saturday by any means through 2018, but I would look for ParkRuns when I was traveling. And if there was one nearish, I would go to it. At the time, there weren't that many in the US. And then the travel business all started with the previous government shutdown. There was a government shutdown in January of 2019. And Roosevelt Island has a bridge and a gate, and it's national parkland. So it can be locked. And we don't, Roosevelt Island ParkRun can't run during a shutdown. So at that time, I went to Richmond and ran Deep Run. I went up to New Jersey and ran Delaware and RC. I went to Baltimore, ran Leakin Park. And by the end of the shutdown, I had run 12 of the then 27 US ParkRuns. So I thought, oh, okay, well, that would be a good project. I could visit all the US ParkRuns. If I do home away, it'll take me through to mid-September. And no sooner had I started than Recplex North started in Florida. So that's okay, end of September. Well, then 2 more started in March. So now end of October. 2 more started in April. So now end of November. So now I have to start thinking about going north in the summertime and south in the winter. And it just kind of snowballed from there. So in 2017, I had really just done the ParkRun, and then headed home. In 2018, when I kind of restarted, one thing that was different was that I went for coffee. And so I started to kind of make friends in the ParkRun community. And that was what kept me coming back. It was more the community rather than the run itself, I think, because I could run anywhere from the house. I didn't have to drive half an hour to run. Yes, it was the community. So that's, I think, and I always try and stay for coffee afterwards when I'm visiting, and encourage others to do so too, to encourage that community aspect of things. because I think that's what draws people in. I mean, because, for example, so my husband was never taken by ParkRun because the idea to him of running the same course every Saturday at 9 o'clock, that's boring. I like that sort of rut. I like to know what's what and where's where. But yeah, he didn't really enjoy ParkRun, actually, paradoxically, until the pandemic shut down. And I was going back to London to see my dad, who was elderly, and he started to do trivia with a ParkRun group. And so he got to be friends with them in his own right. And that's what drew him in. So again, it was the community. So I finally got to be Countrywoman in January of 2022. So much for that 2019 summer when I was just going to do home away and get them all done. Without the pandemic shutdown, what was it, March 2020 till about May 21, I don't know that I ever would have actually done it, because I think we were just at an inflection point towards the end of 2019 where they were really popping up all over the place. And I know that a number of ParkRuns that were slated to begin April, May of 2020, the groups then disbanded. So that a year later, when ParkRun reopened, they just weren't together again. So there was that. Then as soon as we reopened, I started traveling again, because now I was on a mission. And eventually finished it. I did end up going north in the winter. I finished in Lilly in Ann Arbor, Michigan, in January on a very snowy course. So it was very cold, I remember, but I took cake, and so we were all good. And then I suppose once I'd done it, well, then obviously you have to kind of keep up. I mean, that's obvious, or sort of. There was a time through 2022 where I would be Countrywoman for a week. By the time I got to the new one, then the next week, another one would open. And then, yeah, I just kind of kept going sort of into my schedule. If we went camping, we go camping every summer in San Diego with my husband's family. And I would zip off somewhere on the Friday to hopefully a new ParkRun. But if not, I would go to somewhere I'd repeated. And it just kind of became a thing that I would, when a new one popped up, I'd make plans to go to it, either driving. I also like to visit national park sites. So what else is nearby? And yes, it's been very interesting. I've been to places that I would never normally be on the tourist rotation. Wichita, Kansas, Twin Falls, Idaho. What I call these smaller provincial American towns, and I don't mean that to sound patronizing or anything. They are really lovely. They mostly tend to have everything that the big towns have, but not the traffic. And they have some beautiful courses. Wichita, Kansas has Exploration Place. It's at the confluence of the Arkansas and the Little Arkansas River. And at the point where they join, this is amazing Native American-inspired statue called the Keeper of the East, I think. I mean, it's just very dramatic. Twin Falls, Idaho, we flew to Boise, spent a day in the state capital, and then drove on to Twin Falls. It's alongside the Snake River Canyon, so the scenery is stunning. It's also where Evel Knievel tried to do his rocket attempt across the canyon, which failed. So there's all sorts of weird and wonderful places that you get to go to that you wouldn't otherwise go to. Rexburg, Idaho is a long way from anywhere. Winthrop in Washington is lovely. It's this lovely little sort of town. They call it the end of the line. And I went Thanksgiving weekend, which is when Santa Claus also arrived. So you stay in town and Santa Claus arrives on his horse-drawn carriage. And they don't have fireworks for July 4th because it's too dry and the fire risk is too great. So they have them that first weekend after Thanksgiving at the start of Advent for Santa's arrival. So there are all sorts of really quirky little things like that you come across that you're like, oh, this is so fun. Yes, that, you would miss if you just went to the big towns. Willie Blake in Tucson was fun because it's the Willie Blake Community Park Run. because it's in the Willie Blake Community Park. Turns out Willie Blake is a long-time community organizer who is now in his 80s. And the day I showed up to run the ParkRun, he was there too. He didn't run the ParkRun. He was just there at the start finish. But yeah, that was fascinating. And he'd been a runner in his youth at college. So he's in his early 80s now, had a ton of stories. It was very fun meeting him at his own ParkRun. Yeah, so that was pretty memorable. Yeah. Spindle Tree was memorable because the people were lovely. It's 3 laps of basically a floodplain, so it's flat because it's Texas. I was running pretty well at that stage, so I ran a good time, which I think also, in my mind, still helps. I don't think I would not recommend any US ParkRuns. There's always something to enjoy. Peace Valley is another one that it's an out and back alongside a reservoir, so it's very nice, very rural, but then has a fantastic farm-to-table coffee place. Everybody talks about Tabora Farms when they've been to Peace Valley. Delaware and Raritan Canal was lovely. I was there in the winter, and it was very dramatic because all the trees were bare and there was snow and ice. And then the coffee shop was basically a Greasy Spoon cafe. But at the end, and we all sat at a big table and ordered whatever we wanted. And when we left, we just went up to the till and told them what we'd had. It was completely an honor system, which was just very sweet. You know, I like that sort of thing. It sort of makes you feel like there are good people in the world. Yeah. And I would have no reason to go to really that part of the canal or that part of New Jersey without ParkRun. Yeah. Crissy Fields was a lovely ParkRun because you could see the Golden Gate Bridge and Alcatraz. And it was a great shame that they didn't restart after the pandemic. I was a bit lucky to run that one. I had planned to run Aspen in Colorado. So I had my Friday flight booked to Denver, car hire, Airbnb, run the ParkRun, come home on Saturday. And I see everybody at Roosevelt Island and say, okay, bye, I'll see you in 2 weeks. I'm away next week. I go home Saturday afternoon, I log onto the computer, and Aspen's not running the following week. I'm like, oh, gosh, darn it. So the car and the Airbnb were both cancelable, but at the time, you couldn't change. You know, I'd bought the cheapest non-refundable, non-exchangeable, non-anythingable ticket to Denver. And I'd run South Boulder. There was nowhere I could drive to in a day from Denver for a new ParkRun. I didn't want to go all that way to repeat a ParkRun. And my daughter said, well, is there anywhere you can fly on to? So I had got an early morning flight. I arrived in Denver at 8 o'clock. I had the day in Denver, and at 6 p.m. I flew on to San Francisco. So I arrived super, super late and made Crissy Field, but it was pure chance that I did it that weekend. That was sometime in October, I think. And then, of course, following January, February, it all shut and never reopened. So I was fortunate with that one. And it was so much fun, the actual ParkRun. It was Golden Gate Bridge, except it was all in mist. And there's Alcatraz, except it was all hidden in mist. Although we hang around at the donut place for so long that the sun blew off the mist. So it was a good weekend. And then I had to do the same in reverse. I flew back mid-afternoon to Denver, and I was getting a red eye home. Oof, yeah, that was a tiring trip, but fun. I guess at some stage, and I can't remember exactly when this happened, I downloaded the 5K app with all the various ParkRun challenges. That must have been pretty early because I can remember pre-pandemic I was doing G ParkRuns in London when I went back to look after my dad for the Bee Gees challenge. So that was, so I must have come across that fairly early on in my ParkRun travel journey. Now, this is what I do on Saturday. It's just become, we do a parkrun, we go to coffee, I come home and I just look on Strava and on Facebook and see where all my friends have run. Oh, so-and-so's traveling this week. Oh, look, he did that run. Oh, she did that one. Oh, how cool is that? So-and-so went to Poland. So, I've become friends with the other travelers. And we do now sometimes coordinate when we're going to different new park runs. I've had people stay who've been coming to the area. And I have conversely stayed when I went up to Chicago to run a new park run. Another couple who are on the most events table picked me up and I stayed at their house and things. Yeah, you just sort of bump into the same people. They're mostly Facebook friendships. We sort of keep up with what each other are doing each week, comment on each other's posts, that sort of thing. But we, for example, I'm a member of the ParkRun World Tourist Group. So this is a Facebook group that you can join once you've run in 4 different countries. And then they're just, they have T-shirts and sweatshirts and wristbands and things so that you can recognize other members of the group if you bump into them at a park run. We tend to post on Facebook once you've run a new park run, so information about that park run for others. Pre-park run on, say, the Thursday, they'll put a post, where is everyone running this week? So you know if other people from the group are coming to the one that you're planning on going to. It's a loose sort of Facebook group. There was any number of Facebook groups. We have a couple in the States, Park Running USA, which is specifically for US runners, and then Park Running USA Tourism, which is where we try and put all the non-USA runners who want to ask questions about USA park runs. So they're just a way to meet people and disseminate information, I guess. And then this year, 2025, was the year that had the greatest number of extra days. So we added an extra dimension to the travel. Each country is allowed, they run every Saturday. You can run on New Year's Day, and then each country picks what's called an extra day. So for us in America, that is Thanksgiving Day. For the Brits, the Australians, the New Zealanders, they run on Christmas Day. The Canadians can put on an extra park run on Canada Day, July the 1st. So I thought, let's go visit all the extra days. So we've done South Africa, Japan, Canada, Malaysia. We've been all over. I'm going back to Britain for Christmas and on to Poland for Boxing Day, with the 26th of December, for their extra days. And then I'll be done for this year. And then hopefully next year I won't be traveling abroad quite so much. I'll just stay in the US. That's the plan anyway, but you know, these things can be fluid. Yeah. So the South African extra day is April 27th. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to be in that part of the world. I'll not go to Namibia and Eswatini as well. And Namibia was a real eye-opener. So we did Swakopmund. It's on the coast. They have beautiful beaches. It was such an easy country to visit. By American standards, it was cheap. So that was nice. Yes, I was really, it's sand. That's all there is there. So there are these huge sand dunes. You can go sand sledding. It was just a very fun holiday country to visit, which I never would have gone to without ParkRun. We went up to Eswatini. Again, there was a ParkRun World Tourist meetup at Babane. Again, we arrived on the Thursday, and on Friday we went to a safari park, but it was a safari park without dangerous animals. So you could cycle and walk, and you'd be cycling and you'd turn a corner and there was a zebra in the path. I mean, it was just fabulous. It was, for someone who doesn't live with those animals every day. It was so fun. Again, not at all a place I would ever have thought to go without ParkRun pulling me there. So yeah, it was. And then our third one we did was Johannesburg. We did Delta. which is a huge park, a bit like, I guess, Richmond Park in southwest London is what I compare it to. It was so big you could do the 5K around the circumference, and it was beautiful. Again, the parts of the world I would never have gone to otherwise. So the big goal this year was to do all the extra days. And then I guess next year my big task would be to be more US based, although I would like to go to Australia, which is just by the by. That'll have to be fitted in somewhere. So my husband has a birthday in January. He wants to run a trail half marathon. That fits very nicely with the 2 new San Francisco-based ParkRuns. And perfect. We'll go for a week to San Francisco. Then he can head on down to Southern California and visit his mom, who's in her 90s now. Yes, so next year I have lots of sort of ideas, but nothing really, apart from that January trip, nothing really planned fully. But depending how many new park runs there are in December, January, I will be Countrywoman again, 24th of January. So time for cake.
Time for cake indeed. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for sharing your wonderful, wonderful story about your parkrun adventures. I really appreciate it. I love hearing all of these stories about parkrun and the community members and being a part of this incredible phenomena. And Elizabeth, I do wish you all the very best in all of the adventures yet to come. I also want to thank my husband, Lance, for suggesting Elizabeth as a guest. I'd been wanting to highlight ParkRun on the podcast for a long time, and when he suggested Elizabeth, I thought, well, of course, it's a terrific idea. And it was. What a joy. And to top it all off, we were very lucky to be able to catch up with Elizabeth in person on Thanksgiving Day, doing our own parkrun tourism in the DC area. We met Elizabeth at the College Park ParkRun in Maryland, where over 500 runners and walkers gathered to cover a really beautiful 5-kilometer course together before heading off on whatever other activities people did on Thanksgiving Day. I was particularly thankful for the wonderful chocolate cookies Elizabeth made for the occasion and to get to have a really nice conversation with her. Thanks, Elizabeth. Oh, and yes, if it isn't abundantly clear by now, I love ParkRun. I do run almost every Saturday at either Dennehy Park or Jamaica Pond, and while I am traveling, I also find ParkRuns wherever I can. And yes, I have traveled to places because I knew there was a parkrun nearby. And I am on my own quest currently to reach my 250 parkrun milestone, and I am going to reach that goal in January of 2026, so very, very soon. I'm also well on my way to completing my alphabet challenge, and I've had the great fortune to run parkruns in 69 locations, spanning 13 countries. And like Elizabeth, I am so thankful to have visited places I would have never otherwise gone, run routes I would have never otherwise run, and to have met people I probably never would have met. Yeah, parkrun is truly a wonderful part of my life. So a big thank you to parkrun. And that does bring us to the end of Elizabeth Sheridan's running story on the podcast. Please look to the show notes for links on how to keep up with Elizabeth and how to learn more about parkrun. And that brings me to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for being here. I always appreciate you coming here and listening to these stories, and I do hope that you are inspired to find a parkrun near you and check it out. And with that, I am signing off. I am Cherie Louise Turner. I'm the host and producer of Women's Running Stories. And until next time, I do wish you healthy, joyful, adventurous strides forward. Women's running. running stories.